All right, great to be back in a game week. I know we all enjoy the bye week and a little bit of opportunity to catch our breath and all that. But obviously, we're here to play football games and to be back in game week mode is great. On the bye week note, I think we utilized it well. Had a chance to continue to work fundamentals at this point in time of the season with younger players in particular. Had a chance to sit some guys down that had or that have accumulated quite a few reps as we've gone through the season. Guys that missed that last game, probably in particular Bryce Grebe and Adam Jones, continue to recover. It look like they'll be able to be part of our team, our trip, our travel roster this week. So excited about the challenge in front of us. Eastern Washington on the surface, you look at it, they're 2-6. But you look at the four conference games in which they've won one. All the opponents were ranked when they saw them. I trust that Sac State's not going to be a team in the rankings obviously anymore, but the other three are. They've been close games, and in games they've scored points in every which one which way. And they're averaging 33 points right now, which is significant. Well over 400 yards of offense and pretty balanced, in that regard because they're rushing for just under 200 at this point in time. I think they've made a real concerted effort in the conference season in particular to get the running game going, and they've been pretty consistent. They're a unique team in the fact that they play three quarterbacks essentially, but one is truly a quarterback, Vesperis, and he's had a good season at this point, completing well over 70% of his passes. I think 13-1 touchdown interception. And then on the other end, a lot of those passes is Efton Chisholm, who is clearing away their leading receiver. I think he's got 76 catches. The next leading receiver at the very least is 14. So they're continuing to try to find ways to get him the ball, and he finds ways to get open. And then once he gets the ball in his hands, he's a dynamic runner after the catch. Mentioned the three quarterbacks. The other two guys, I think it's 15 and 6. 15, Taylor has been very effective more and more as the season has gone along as a runner. I know he threw the ball a few times Saturday night, one for a touchdown, then followed it up with a 2-point conversion. And then I think it's number 6 is all kinds of things. He lists him as a quarterback, but he essentially plays running back. He returned a kick for a touchdown the other night. So a lot of weapons on the offensive side. Defensively, I think the thing that jumps out at you is they've done a lot of things. And, they're giving up points and yards. And I think, how they defended, Idaho the other night at times was probably as consistent and stout as they've been. They have been all over the map as far as what they've done in the front, 4 down, 3 down, flex defense. So, predicting what they're going to do come Saturday is a challenge because they have done so many different things in their front seven in particular. So that's a little bit about what we see in them. I know it's helpful that we're certainly a couple days into our prep against them, and we have obviously the rest of the week to get going before we head over to Cheney. So with that, I'll open up for questions. Yeah. Julius has really been practicing now for the better part of this month, trying to build up each and every week. I think there was availability that could have been there out of Portland, but we chose to sit him one more game, and now we're in a 4-game mode, and all signs point to his ability to utilize a red shirt this year, going back in time and getting a medical his first year at Wisconsin when he did come in as a true freshman injured. So all systems go, I guess, and how he has looked, I think is every bit of what he looked like in practice last year. Julius is a gamer, though. He was much better in games than he was at any point in time in practice last year. So it's our hope the game side of it is what it was, because he was dynamic, he was explosive, he was all things for us when he was healthy last year, and it's great to have him back in his position to play. Yeah, I think Ty will be okay. I think if we played last Saturday, he wouldn't have played, but I think he's turned a corner over the weekend. He was out there fully padded today. So yeah, otherwise, he was the one, I guess, new thing out of that game. And I already mentioned Bryce and Adam being able to go. So I think we feel good about where our health is. I think everybody 8 games in has sustained some things, and we have. But I guess how you move forward is a testament to your depth, and next guy up, and our ability, in this mid-season to late season mode to bring back Drew and I'll bring back Julius. I think is unusual. I think Justice is still a little ways off. I know he's practicing more this week, and for an offensive lineman, for a running back, for a safety, there's a little bit different lead up. And this will be a much different week than it was for Justice last week. We are going to take him on the trip, I think, just to get him traveling again and get him intermixed with the group a little bit differently will be important. But I don't think he'll be a go this week, but we're getting there with him. He registered at 19. Yeah. To medical, you can't play essentially in his situation. So yeah, that's where that stands. So it's our hope that he gets to a point where he's healthy enough to play. And that is the piece that's left for him. I think he's made really good progress. And it's our hope that obviously beyond these 4 games that we have left in regular season, there's more football after that. So yeah, that's the status of his situation. Yeah, I think a lot of people would point to the red turf, I suppose, being a different setting, but it's been, a situation where they've had a really good program for the most part, and since the red turf's been in play, and I know this team is a team that hasn't won the games that they maybe would have liked, but yeah, the competitive nature has been there, and then some, and they've been competitive on the road, in conference in particular too. So, you know, um, I think it's more, hey, they're a program that has high expectations. They do have this unique field. We've had a chance to play there a couple times, so a good chunk of our guys have been over there. So it's going to be new to some, but for the most part, our guys have played there. But it's more about the players and the program than it is the field. Yeah, Adam, at this point, I know he didn't play in the last game, but I think he's been very impressive for a freshman. I know to get on that watch list, you have to make your mark, and I think Adam's certainly done that. He'll have to continue to do that to continue to garner that opportunities. I know that Scott Trey, now Julius, are going to get some too. So how many and what that looks like, we'll have to see. But Adam's been a really important player for us this season, and Brody's honor, that's significant. That's you're one of 16 finalists amongst all of college football, and it's not just one thing. It's all things. It's being an All-American player on the football field. It's being as high achieving academic student as he's been. He's a grad. He's a 3.93 grad in mechanical engineering. I think that speaks for itself. And then it's who you are as a person, your willingness to give back, and I'm certain getting that number of 200 plus down to 16 isn't real simple. And I know it's easy for us to look and say, hey, absolutely Brody deserved it, but to be chosen to go down to that banquet in December down in Las Vegas is quite an honor. I know having a chance to go down there when Troy was in a similar situation. It is a who's who in college football. They also honor the College Hall of Fame there, so I was able to go last year when Bill Kohler got inducted. So, to have our program now represented 3 of the last 4 years is something, and that's a credit to Brody, and I think to some degree it's certainly a credit to our program, our university, Bozeman, all things.
there anything schematically that Eastern does that on offense that's going to make them especially tough this game?
Well, I think they really force you to defend both the width and the depth of the field. They do a good job of utilizing the screen game, and that's always challenging just when you're talking the width of the field. And that's, you suspect that primarily is going through Chisholm, but not necessarily always. I think how they're utilizing the different guys that are quarterbacks, anytime you have potentially three different guys that have thrown the football, can throw the football, I think that's challenging. Um, they do have a vertical passing game as well, and one thing that they're willing to roll one way and throw back the other way more often than most. I think most people use that kind of as a here and there change of pace, but every game it's showing up where they're double moving back to the other side of the field and challenging throws for a quarterback. But Chisholm in particular is such a good route runner. He finds himself open. The amount of times he's been open downfield for a guy that is obviously their primary guy, I think it speaks to his ability. And then, I think their abilities in one-on-one matchups in space, and then the quarterback's ability to deliver the football. Well, I think it's the same thing. You know, we went primarily MSU against MSU on Tuesday and Wednesday, but really once we flipped on Wednesday, we're into Eastern Washington. This isn't a deal where we're utilizing this bye week to look at a couple opponents, anything like that. I think we recognize fully, how dangerous of an opponent this is. I think we all remember the last time we went over there. It was a game you know, um, we didn't really have business winning, I think, at the end of the game, but we found a way. And I think at the same time, our guys now 8 games in, I think understand why we've been consistent. It's not because we say we're consistent; it's because we do the things that allow you to be consistent, and that's going back each week relative to that opponent and putting in the necessary steps. Really being concerned with our continued improvement. And that's where last week was so big because our continued improvement is about fundamentals. For some guys, it's about catching their breath and getting recharged. Because ultimately this game's going to be played in November, and we need to be a better team in November than we were in August and September and October, and that's a tall task. It is a tall task. That's what's in front of us, and I think our guys do understand that. Yeah, real good, and expected that. He's very very outgoing, very vocal, so there's that piece. But he's a very intelligent player too. So to be able to share the information, through the course of the week, be able to sit down with his fellow linebackers and continue to give his point of view. Really, that was something he continued to do. He was really doing that before he got injured. And the challenge will be out of surgery now this week. He's got to be able to continue to bring that same energy. And while he won't be able to go on this trip because he has surgery this week, that's my expectation that he gets healthy enough where he can continue that role because his role as a leader, a teacher, a captain will still be very important to this team.
Coulter, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge because it's not as simple as they throw the other guys in and now they're going to run the quarterback. They've been willing to run Vesperis, I think, more and more to me as the season has gone along. So you have that +1 element, probably always there to be in the back of your mind. And their primary running back, he's over 500 yards right now. So it's not that it has to be the quarterbacks. They're just unique in the fact that a pretty good chunk, 700 plus yards of rushing, comes from three different guys that are listed as quarterbacks. Like Ortham is rarely in that position as a quarterback, but they yeah, schematically, inside outside zone, split zone in both cases. Power, pin and pull. I mean, they run the gamut as far as the schemes go. So yeah, I think you really have to be on your toes. And I think for us, you certainly look at defenses and fronts structurally that are similar to say, okay, what do you anticipate? But at the same time, we got to be ready for it all. And I think they got a very experienced, aged offensive line. It's seniors, it's graduates, across the board. So, it certainly would, to me, start with them. I know Coach Best is an O-line coach by trade, so I think he understands to be a good offense, you got to be good up front, and it appears that they've taken some really good strides there too. So, we're going to have to be on our toes. And the biggest piece, like I said, going back, is just that the quarterback is always a threat. It doesn't matter which one's out there. Well, yeah, I think that's because yeah, we need them on both sides. We need them to support the run. We need them to have really good eyes because there's a fair amount of play action involved in their down the field passing game, and then there's such a an excellent receiver in that group. So our guys have been disciplined. They've been up to the challenge, and this is the next one in front of us. And if we can limit the big playability of their passing game, I think that'll be the mark. Anytime they're completing 74, or he's completing 74% of his passes, they're going to get some completions. There's going to be balls that are thrown in front of our guys, and then we need to tackle really well. So I know we've had our moments this year, in particular early, where we cut some guys loose. We didn't communicate. We weren't on the same page. I think that ultimately is going to be the biggest piece. So having a few extra days to practice against all that they've done, and it will be critical. And then that's got to show up on Saturday. Yeah, John was a late ad the year before from El Camino Community College, and really, fit in instantly as far as that transition last summer, and then that allowed him to, I think, to have a really impactful junior year with us, and he carried that over as far as his fitting in and his willingness to take his game to another level. He had the hand injury that set him back for a few weeks, and then on top of that, I think he played with a cast 1 week. There was still a little bit of rust, so I thought last week was the first time. Okay, we took another step forward with John. So he started really well, had the hiccup in the middle with the injury, and now I think he's back on track. And we really need him to play well because Simeon's really had his best stretch of football, and then Andrew Powdrill, much younger than those two, but has played really well. So the strength of those three and their willingness to go out there and compete, and then obviously compete with one another for those opportunities has been critical, I think, to all their development. I know that bringing John in here last year really pushed the whole situation at corner. And, you do that for depth, but you do it to hopefully competition brings out the best in all the guys. And what you see in that group of three is a group of individuals that keep raising the bar so that if you're not up to that bar, you don't need to be on that field, essentially. We only need to play two corners. So I think they all are worthy of playing, but the competition and each one of them striving to become their best has been a big piece, and Coach Shepard's done a great job with them. Yeah, and he's a unique one. He comes from Bosco, which is a program of all programs. But he was an heralded guy, and then he had that chip going on his shoulder going to El Camino, and uh, you know, recruiting wise, we were able to sign him. I think at the tail end of the signing period, so that's the end of March. But he went in some ways unnoticed from December into January, that recruiting cycle, so that the chip maybe continued to grow and. Yeah, he hasn't lost that here, even though played and played well last year. I think he's continued to be driven. So you want guys like that, guys that are doing everything they can to maximize their opportunity and become their very best. And we fortunately have quite a few guys like that, and John is certainly one of them. Unconventional route maybe to get here compared to some of them, but we're real thankful we have them. Well, I think our best interest is to mix it up, but to know where he's at. I think if they suspect they have any real pattern on what you're doing, I think they can exploit you even more. So, I know for us, our strength in our coverage has been a variety, and with that variety, there's disguise that's involved that I think we've really grown our disguise this year. That probably affects a quarterback certainly more than it does a receiver. But all that being said, if we're gonna disguise, we're gonna change up coverage, we got to be really dialed into where he is and um, what that might mean to the particular scheme they might run or route pattern they might run. But then know that he's going to catch some balls. And I think the two things are you can't let him behind you, which teams have consistently. And when he does catch the ball, you better tackle him because that's not as simple as it sounds. I mean, he's really good after the catch, and we've seen it. We've seen it over the years when we played against him. So he is going to get some, but ultimately that big play piece is what you have to hopefully eliminate. Yeah, that's a great point because you get to this point of the season, and you're a 2-6 team. A lot of teams don't show what they showed on Saturday night, and they were 2-5. I know going to that game, and it's a robbery game, all that stuff. But this is really time when teams are either taking off or they're turning it in. And I didn't see that, but I haven't seen that once out of this team. And you could even hear it in Coach Best's post game that I think they were really pleased with how they fought, and you just sense that as a coach, that's challenge number one at this point in the season is continuing to fight, continuing to go after, continuing to make plays, and they're doing that. And I'm sure they looked at their conference schedule and they had all these games lined up, and that's daunting into itself. And here we are, another ranked team, but we're going to their place, and I know full well that they're going to want to defend their home turf. Our game last year against them was one-sided. I don't know quite how that happened. I know that was game 7 versus game 5 of the conference season last year. So no, we expect that same fight, and that's credit to their team holding it together, continuing to really want to play this game for just that sake. I think that's where in this day and age that does get lost on some teams where, hey, we got this opportunity to go play football, and we got this opportunity to continue to, try to prove people wrong. And it's apparent they still have that going for them, and I expect they will on Saturday. Well, I think it's clear that we have everything in front of us, and that's great to be in that position. I suppose 2/3 of the way through, but that's all we're 2/3 of the way through. And if for 1 second we get anywhere ahead of ourselves, we're going to be in trouble. And we have to be entirely focused on Eastern Washington, and that's been the mindset that's gotten us here, and we can't stray from that. So um, we've been able to stack these wins up, and I know that matters. I know ultimately where you're ranked at this point in time matters, but it doesn't guarantee you anything moving forward. It doesn't. We've said it every week. Going 8-0 doesn't have anything to do with us going 1-0 next week. It really doesn't. So we have to stay true to that mindset, and I think we're in a good place health wise. That's always a concern when you get to November, I suppose, but we're in a good spot there. I think our minds are right, and we have to stay locked in.
Well, you're on the Jerry Royce Award watch list. I guess how special is that honor?
I mean, yeah, that's something I'm really honored to be on. I mean, I was pretty excited when I saw my name on that. It's definitely something that I had as a big goal this year. Didn't know how that would work out, but I think that's a pretty special thing to be honored.
And I mean, coming back from, I know you were a little banged up last game, so how excited are you to get back on the field now?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, having to sit out last week, kind of take it slow, really sucked. Not practicing was an adjustment for me. And I think just finally this week feeling better, getting back out here, it just makes you enjoy it much more when you get it taken away for a little bit. So
How was the bye week spent with you and the rest of this team as you guys prepare for these final four regular season games?
yeah, I think we definitely had the guys that were taking their reps back just to more get healthy and stuff like that. I mean, it's the middle of the season. We're going into a 4-game stretch. It's going to be tough. So definitely getting guys healthy was a big goal for us this week. And then getting ahead on Eastern Washington as much as we can was a huge goal, and I think we did that.
Yeah, you guys sit at 8-0 atop of the Big Sky with that 1-0 mentality. How do you keep that honed in these final four games?
Yeah, I think you just have to take it day by day. I mean, I think we have a standard here, and our guys really preach it, and we live it every single day. We don't live in the future, we don't live in the past, we live in the now. So taking each opportunity we get every day just to get that inch, whatever we can against our opponent. So.
What's been the focus for the running back room with the bye week to try and improve on?
I think just stay hungry. Never get complacent. Coach Mix is always harping on, as we have our team goals, but we also have our individual goals, and that pushes each one of us in that room. I think all of us, we all have huge goals, and whether that is the team or individual, I mean, we really want to be the best players we can. So I think just staying hungry, not getting complacent.
What's been what are kind of the vibes like with Julius, waiting in the wings to come back?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's fired up for him. He's a guy that has a lot of energy. We can't wait to get him back on game days. He's a different animal on game days. So that part really we haven't seen yet, but it's soon to come. So.
What has he been like as a coach, especially traveling with you guys this past last weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Julius is a huge leader. Obviously, he came from a bigger school, Wisconsin, so he has a lot of experience with NFL guys in his running back room there. So he's always teaching us little things on how to use our eyes and stuff like that. And just having him on the road, just him being there, just giving that comfort and getting us fired up was huge for us.
You guys have been so dominant weeks. I guess what's that kind of do to this room?
I mean, it makes it really hard on the other team. I mean, when we have 3 or 4 backs that can all get downhill and do different things, I think it's extremely hard. And then when you have a quarterback like Tommy, I honestly don't know how I would game plan us. I think we have a bunch of weapons, and I think just adding another weapon to that just makes it that much harder for other teams.
I know he's on the defensive side, but Rylan is kind of a big leader for this group. Obviously, another Sentinel guy. I guess what have you kind of seen from him as a leader, kind of for this whole group?
Yeah, Rylan's a dude that I grew up, wanting to be. He was one of my role models. I mean, he was a senior when I was just getting into high school, so he's someone that I've always looked up to, and finally getting here and playing with him, and just learning from how he does everything is a huge deal. He's a lead by example guy on this team. Everyone respects him from the top down, and I think his leadership is extremely important on this team.
Heard he goes by Iron Ort now. I guess what do you think of that nickname?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure where it came from, but I think it's pretty spot on, Mr. Ironor, yeah.
You mentioned teams not being able to game plan for you guys. I don't think a team has figured out how to guard your run this season yet. Have you seen anything super crazy from the opposing defense and trying to stop you guys yet?
I think each team has tried to do something different. We've seen teams try to load the box up, play 3 down, and just put a bunch of backers and safeties in there. And then, I mean, it makes it easy for us to just go over the top with guys like Rohan and Ty. So I think whether you're going to try to stack the box on us, that's going to open up the pass. And then, I mean, honestly, I don't know what I would do against us. We've seen a bunch of stuff, so I think that's been huge for us, just getting to see different looks and different fronts as we head into the postseason, because we're going to see everything. So I think just getting that experience throughout the whole year has been huge.
What's it like having Tommy as your quarterback inside the huddle, just game by game, every situation, his leadership, stuff like that? What's that like?
I mean, it's seriously the most important thing on the team. It's just Tommy. I mean, he's a guy that's, he does everything the right way. He's not gonna get too high or too low, but when he's in the huddle with us, he gets us all, grounded. We all look to him as our leader, and I think just having him out there, gets everybody. He raises everyone's level. So I think his importance is I can't really explain it, but super happy to have him as my quarterback, and I love the opportunity to get to play with him.
How are you feeling going to Genie and playing on that red turf for the first time?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what to expect. I've never been there. I've heard it's a tougher place to play, so kind of preparing for that, but kind of excited to see what it looks like. I don't know.
Sorry, you mentioned earlier Ryland as a role model. I guess how much does a guy like that coming down from Missoula to play for the Cats? I guess how much did that factor in your decision to kind of come down here and play for the Cats?
Yeah, it was a big part of it. I think just Ryland and Tommy and just the overall Montana dudes that have success here at Montana State was a big reason why I wanted to come here, and their success early on in the program was a big deal to me. And I talked with each one of those guys, especially Ryland, on what it was like coming here, and he told me what to expect. And yeah, I think that was a huge part, and he was right. If you come in here and you put your head down and work, hard work gets rewarded in this program, so that was a big deal.
Any thoughts on Eastern, on the defense especially?
I mean, they're kind of tough to game plan. They do a little bit of everything, so they showed something completely different last week against Idaho. So kind of game planning for everything. I think we'll just focus on what we do best, and just go out there and have fun.
Well, Neil, I guess how did you feel about your performance in your first start at the last game?
I mean, I felt good. It was fun to get out there. It's always kind of fun to run around and play with the boys, and it's just a good experience out there.
Yeah, you did that the Danny U celebration after your sack and a couple other plays. So how much is he on your mind when you play out there?
I mean, it's always on your mind. You're kind of always trying to play for someone else, play for someone bigger than yourself, and it makes it easy when those guys are your brothers, the guys that you love. So it makes it easy to do that for them.
What's it like working alongside McCade in that first start?
I mean, it's great working alongside McCade. He's a great guy. He's knowledgeable of the defense. He helps me with the communication that I'm starting to try to pick up as I'm getting out there playing Will for the first time in over a year. But it's great because he knows what he's doing and he's able to help me out there.
What's Danny like as a coach?
He's a great coach. He's very passionate about football. He's passionate about the Bobcats, and you can kind of see that when he's out there. So he's always trying to help you, giving me his tips and tricks about if you see this here, try doing this or try this, because he's just a great guy. He's done it for a long time and he knows what he's doing.
What about leadership-wise? What does he continue to do even though he's out for not just linebackers but for everybody?
He's a great leader on the team. He's always here. He's doing everything. He's getting extra lifts in. He's doing all that. He runs extra meetings for us during the week when the coaches can't meet with us, so he runs it. He sits there, runs film for us and all that. He's just trying to get us better and trying to get us so we can get to that spot we want to be.
What was your experience like last year, kind of dealing with injury, I guess kind of the whole process?
I mean, yeah, last year it sucked for me, but it's one of those things you never know how much you love something until it's gone. And not being able to play last year really kind of drove that passion back for playing this game and just trying to play here, play for my brothers.
Yeah. What was your injury last year again?
I hurt my ankle.
Ankle,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Was that at practice or?
No, it was a Gold Rush.
Gold Rush, gotcha. Yeah, I guess what was that recovery process like? Kind of working your way back.
Yeah, it was long. It was trying to get in there, get in with our PT Brian, and try to get everything I can, but not try to go too much to where I hurt myself again. So it was just kind of that ever-ending road of just kind of attacking it as much as I possibly can.
This linebacker room has had such a great lineage, especially in these past recent years. Nolan, Callahan, Troy. What's it like being the next to uphold that standard?
I mean, it's kind of fun because when you're growing up, you look at those guys, they're like the leaders. They're the best players I've ever seen. They're the best linebackers. They're the guys you strive to be. And to be kind of put in that conversation of like, I'm trying to get to that place to where I can be that to the young guys to try to keep that linebacker room going here. Because the linebackers in this room, we want to be the strength of the defense. We want to be able to communicate, know everything. And that's just kind of the biggest thing that those guys showed is they knew everything on the defense. They knew who to talk, and they were the leaders by just how they did, what their example was.
So you transferred from West right before your junior year, or to West from Sentinel. So you played with a lot of guys on the team from both schools. So I guess take me through just kind of your high school career and playing with some of the guys that you're now teammates with.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. So growing up, Zach Cruz's brother is just kind of a year older than me. So we played basketball teams growing up from probably 4th grade to 8th grade. So we played everything together. Then getting to high school, I played a lot more sports, kind of Rylan Ort. And then in baseball growing up, Adam Jones, like the team he played on was like the younger brother team to ours. So we were always kind of around each other very close. And then moving over to West, I got to play with Paul, Taco, Caden, Max Kimball when he was here, Max Murphy, Connor Ryan when he was here. So it's like a great experience to know these guys and to know what they can do, just kind of seeing them grow up.
And can you explain why you transfer? Was there any reason you can say?
My family had work.
Gotcha.
Just family stuff, yeah.
Sorry, you mentioned Rylan among those. Now he's such a huge leader on this defense. I guess first of all, what have you kind of seen from him at MSU and kind of just the leadership role he has in this defense?
I mean, he's just always been a natural born leader growing up. Everything he's always been pushing. He has a great work ethic, and you can kind of see it in the weight room. He's not the biggest drivey guy, but he's going to get you going. He's going to work. He's going to do everything that he possibly can to get this team better, and it's trying to see that and trying to follow in that footsteps to get the team going in that direction we want to get to.
You mentioned all the other Montana guys, but to be, an in-state Montana guy representing the Bobcats, what does that mean to you?
I mean, it means the most because it's one of those things growing up or even walking around, you always see it's like go Cats go and all that. So it's kind of big when you're walking around or even in the airport and you see a guy in Salt Lake and you got your Bobcat backpack on and his kid walks up to you and says, "Go Bobcats." That's just that means the world to me, and that's kind of why we're out here playing.
What's been the biggest focus for the linebacker room to improve upon? Obviously, it's been pretty dominant, but what's the focus on with women this week?
I mean, we always try to get better every game. We try to learn from our mistakes, figure out what we can do better and what we did that was good. And it's just that thing is we're trying to drive and we're trying to keep the depth going. We're trying to bring these next guys up. I'm trying to keep going. I'm trying to get better. There's a lot of stuff I still need to work on as a player, and I need to work on knowing the defense and just playing football. So it's just trying to get better every week until we can get to that point we want to get to.
You guys have no trouble with explosive offenses, opposing offenses. You're going to face another one in Eastern this weekend. Anything that stands out about them as your game planning?
I mean, they're a great offense. They're very explosive. They have the capability to do a lot of stuff to a lot of people. So a lot of our main focus is we're just going to try to contain them a little bit, try to not give up the explosive plays. But they're such a good offense, it's going to be really hard to do that.
May not be too hard for you guys, as we've seen so far this season.
Sorry, just one more on Rylan. You saw him a little bit at the high school level. I guess what kind of athlete was he back then? And then I guess did you kind of see him reaching these heights?
He's always been a great athlete. Growing up playing football, watching him. He was a quarterback in high school and a jab thrower, so the coach didn't really let him play as much defense as he'd want to growing up. But you could see when they put him in at safety in some of those games that he was just a really good athlete and a great football player. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.